Hey, and I got the mic on. Oh, I did not do my hair. This is windblown, Northern Michigan windblown green. That's the color and style of my hairdo. How is everyone doing? Let me get the chat back up here. Okay. And I got it pasted, so let me see if I can do this. Okay, that's working. So snow. Ooh. Yeah, it's snowing here. It's so I don't know if it looks like I know some of you are near the Great Lake area. You know, Ohio. I know Ohio. I know New York is represented here. Um, Lake effect snow. You've probably heard the term is just so bizarre because it comes in bands. I don't understand the all of the science behind the banding part, but basically, cold air blows over the lake, the warm lakes, and causes snow to happen even if there aren't storm clouds. Like it's not like a traditional snowstorm. And so lake effect can just keep happening or not happening, all dependent on the wind and stuff. It's really bizarre, but it comes in these bands. And so the reason I just got back to the house is because I had brunch actually at my farm. One of my daughters lives at the farm, and so we had family brunch out there. And on the way, it's going. The farm is north of me, like not quite due north, but quite a ways north from me. And the bands are always east to west. And so going up to the farm, we're going up the road, and it'll be like, oh, it's cold, it's windy, but just a little bit of snow. Then all of a sudden it'll be like complete whiteout drifts across the road up to the bumpers. It's insane. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. And like literally can't stop because the road is iced over from it. And then you'll go a quarter mile and you'll be like, oh look, it's dry pavement and sunny. And then, another quarter mile, it'll be like a regular snowstorm again. It's just so bizarre. So yeah, it's a weird phenomenon. Here at our house, it's been steadily snowing, but not like the horrible. We had a band of the horrible, like soul devouring blizzard like conditions that lasted for about a half an hour. And then, that band moved on. Lake effect snow is just so weird. Harbor effect here out in the East Coast. Oh yeah, it's so bizarre. It's fascinating. And, we get it kind of widespread along. So I live this is a standard map of Michigan for anybody, because Michigan looks kind of like a mitten. And I live about in the tip of the pinky finger. And so right next to Lake Michigan, literally I can see Lake Michigan out the front window of my house. I don't have lakefront property, but we live up on a hill. Anyway, and so the bands coming off of Lake Michigan, they'll go all up and down the northern part of this peninsula of Michigan. But probably the worst place in the U.S. for lake effect snow is like in New York, in the Buffalo area, because Lake Erie, right? Is that the right one? Lake Erie or Lake Ontario? Maybe it's Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario, probably. Scott, is it Lake on? We're from the Great Lakes State. I got to do things in my head. I'm pretty sure it's Lake Ontario. Anyway, but they have across the entire width of the long ways of the lake, because the lake goes this way. Yeah, Lake Ontario, because it goes this way. So they have all of that lake for the wind to blow across, and it dumps right on the Buffalo area, like Buffalo, Niagara, all that kind of stuff right there. Whereas we have in my part of Michigan, it goes across the big lake, but it's the Lake Michigan kind of goes north to south. I mean, it's still wide, it's still significant, but yeah, Buffalo, I think, probably gets the worst lake effect of anywhere here in the U.S. But we get it more widespread, just not quite as bad. And there are some places that tend to get it really, really bad. Gaylord is a town south of here that tends to get a lot of lake effect snow. So, anywho, yeah. So that's I made it though. I made it. I left my wife at the farm. My daughter's going to give her a ride home a little later because I literally took a breakfast burrito with me in the car because I wanted to make sure to get home in time. And I just barely did make it home in time, but I did. Made it home in time. With my Tux mug from Linux Guy. I don't see him here. And he has a different username here. But hey, thanks again. I appreciate it. Every time I see it, I still think of you. It's the holiday season now. I know that it's not. So here in the U.S., and I know some people are from the U.S., some people are not, but it's like Thanksgiving at the end of November for Americans here kind of starts this intense holiday season. Like from Thanksgiving all the way through the new year is just like nonstop holiday everything. And I imagine it's like that to a slightly lesser degree in the rest of the world. I mean, once like December rolls around, it's starting to feel like the holiday season, whether that holiday, whatever the holiday might be. Most people groups and locations and religions or whatever have a standard winter holiday. But yeah, it's just intense. And so I have noticed that views on the YouTube have like plummeted, which I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. It's not like, oh no, I need to reinvent myself. I don't mean it like that. What I mean is that's why like last night I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to play Atari and record it because it seemed fun. And I did. I beat that first level. It took me 2 times, but I did it. And yeah, the Tux Mug, Linux guy. I forget his username here, but it's like 4 letters. Like it's not IoT. That's Internet of Things. But anyway, maybe you'll see this later on. But he mentioned in a comment, which I haven't even had a chance to reply to on that video, that he repaired Atari joysticks years back. That's kind of cool because the one joystick that I got to work, it's still on my desk here. I literally haven't been at my desk since yesterday. But I had to like just give it a good old whatever that is to get it working. I mean, it was new in the box, but I mean, new in the box 40 years ago. So, anywho, yeah, that's, I think that's him, unless I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I saw the comment on my phone. I didn't reply to the comment on the video, but that username is Linux guy who got me this mug and its twin, which broke years and years ago when I was at Linux Journal. So a couple things changed for me as winter approaches. One, I don't switch, but I drink far more tea in the wintertime than I drink in the summertime. In the summertime, I tend to drink more coffee. So that's one of the things that just shifts for me generally when the weather gets colder. For some reason, I don't know why, but tea just seems cozier to me. Oh, I should turn that off. It was my wife saying that she loves me and she hopes that I have fun. That's very sweet. And so that changes. Bjorn, don't let me forget. I want to respond to that question. The other thing is I think about video games more. So the history of me in video games, I was, this isn't like a sad story. Like we don't need sad music, but I was really poor growing up. And so I didn't have like video game systems. And so now that I'm an adult, I see all of these gaming systems that I didn't have when I was younger in like the proper age to have them. And so I always crave them. Like I have a PlayStation 4, I have a PlayStation 4 Pro, I have a PlayStation 3, I have Xbox 360, Xbox One, Scorpio Edition. Well, and then COVID happened. I haven't updated. I don't have the most recent systems. But anyway, the point is I get all of these systems and I never play them. And it's because it's like I'm remembering this joy that I never really had, right? I never played those games. I just felt I was missing out. And so what I end up playing, if I do play games, like I have all these systems, all these powerful games, like have I shown, hold on, I'll get it. Just because. So like the original Xbox, like this is the original Xbox. This is the Halo edition. I did buy an original Xbox when they came out. Not that one. But I didn't buy it to play games. I bought it because I wanted to put XBMC on it, which was the predecessor to, it was XBMP, Xbox Media Player, which turned into XBMC, Xbox Media Center, which turned into, what is it now? Kodi, I think is the new name for XBMC. But I got it because, I wanted to have XBMC. I also had a PlayStation 3 specifically to play Blu-rays, but I've talked about that before. Anyway, the thing about this though, this Halo edition one, I bought this very recently, well, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, but I bought it from eBay, hacked with a hard drive in it. So it literally has every Xbox game ever made. on a hard drive as an image. And so I turn it on and it's a menu system and I can pick any of the original Xbox games. It's so cool. And I know that it's not even really a gray area. It's just not legal to have all of these ROMs like embedded on there. It's just not cool because I don't own all the discs. But, I mean, I've played one game on it and it was SpongeBob, because that was one game that we bought when I bought the original Xbox to play Xbox Media Center. We also bought a SpongeBob game for the kids. And so that's the one game that I've played because I'm like, hey, I remember this game. So anyway. Yeah, so this time of year, I like to play or think about games. I'm inside a lot and stuff. So anyway, I think that this winter I'm probably going to build another couple systems. The first time I was ever published was when I made the MAME machine up here. That's like the cover of Linux Journal from back in 2007. That was the first time I was ever published. It's because I had created that in our bedroom. We didn't have a garage, still don't. And I built it and wrote an article and got published. So I like those old games because that was the thing. All these new systems I have, if I'm going to play a game, it's going to be Atari 2600, the original Nintendo, and maybe occasionally a Super Nintendo game, but it's usually the original NES games that were like the peak of when I enjoyed actually playing games. And I like the square Nintendo controller. Who said I saw, and I'm going to start looking at these things instead of just rambling. Somebody had issues with Rob. Yes. They make my hand hurt now. I said that in the video last night. But they were never comfortable, right? I mean, you would get like the same sort of blisters that people who like rake the lawn get, but it would just be from the joystick, and it was not a great experience, those joysticks. I think it's kind of bizarre that they sort of designed it after an arcade joystick, which makes sense. But the whole thing about an arcade joystick is that it is mounted, right? I mean, you just grab the joystick. You can't grab an Atari joystick. They did. Anybody remember they had some, I don't know if it was Atari brand or third party, but with the ball on top of the joystick so you could grab it like that. And they probably had suction cups or something. They just never worked like that. It wasn't great. So anyway, Bjorn, so tea. I'm that person who has so many different kinds of tea, right? My favorite shifts from time to time, but for the past year or so, my absolute daily drinker that I drink multiple cups every day is going to be from a place called Harney's Tea. I think it's harneytea.com. And it sounds cheesy, but it's their chocolate mint. It's black tea with a very mild chocolate flavor. There's not much chocolatey to it, but with some mint hints to it, and I just love it. It's like drinking mint chocolate chip ice cream, and so I drink a lot of that. I generally prefer black teas over green teas, even though I know green tea is supposedly much better for you. Green tea kind of tastes like ashes or something to me. It's a weird... It's just weird. Like matcha tastes kind of like grass clippings, but in a good way, if there's a good way to have grass clippings, which makes sense, right? Because it's just ground up tea leaves. But green tea, I don't know. It just has it's not bad. It's not a super strong flavor. And then the aftertaste almost is like licking an ashtray to me. Not quite that harsh, but yeah. So I wish I liked green tea more. White tea is just like water with a hint of nothing in it. I don't know. I struggle with the delicate teas. My palate is not that sensitive. Yeah. So, I mean, and this makes sense, right? I mean, y'all are from the land of drinking more tea than us. So that makes sense. And so, Bjorn, Mason, do you guys drink, is it just like standard, like, black tea, like PG Tips or Yukon Gold or whatever the standard tea over there? And I'm not familiar with German tea brands, but I wonder. Yeah, I wonder what kind of teas you drink. 2600, 7800 S. I've never played a 7800 or the game. The only consoles I've had, not now, like I said, now in my, in my midlife crisis, maybe, I guess, over the past few years, I've purchased other consoles, but like ones that I bought to actually play. would be the Atari 2600 I got when I was a kid for Christmas, along with Frogger and ET, which I want to talk about ET because somebody, I think Samples and Tests, was it you that said you hated it? The ET game. And then I bought a used NES, and I know I've had this talk on the live stream before. The used NES, and that was probably the only gaming systems I had. I had a computer, a TI 99-4A was my first personal computer, and I had a Space Invaders cartridge that plugged into that, so you could play with the keyboard Space Invaders. But that's about it. Yeah, I just haven't been much of a gamer, although I always wanted to be. But we used to rent NES games over the weekend, my friend and I can't say his name. He's a very private person, but when we were in high school, we were really close, and we would rent video games and play them all weekend because we were super cool. The Spectrum. Now, is the Spectrum, that was like, is Spectrum and ColecoVision, are they related? ColecoVision and something are related. I don't remember. I never had a ColecoVision. I played a ColecoVision once at somebody's house. They had a Smurf game. That's all I know about the ColecoVision. I never had a Commodore 64. There's somebody in my life who had a VIC-20. Oh, I remember who it was now. My aunt had a VIC-20, I think. I don't think she had a Commodore 64. I think it was a VIC-20 and a bunch of discs. And so the same friend who I played video games with, we would go to their house sometimes and spend a weekend like digging up through all the unlabeled floppy disks until we could find, like cool games to play. And it was more just playing with somebody else's computer because we didn't have one. But I never had a Commodore 64. Oh, hold on. It's got like my tea, sweet and on ice. Sweet. So I put it in quotes, but they're not scare quotes. They're like legitimate sweet tea. Like if anybody is from, I don't know what, south of Tennessee, maybe south of Ohio, like Southern sweet tea here in the U.S. is, I don't know how people do it. It is just so sweet. It is just like pancake syrup, but tea flavored. Oh, I just can't do it. I don't like tea without any sweetener though. I like a hint of sweetener in all of my tea. I drink coffee black and tea with just like one lump, if that's a thing. But like iced tea. My wife and I like iced tea, just a hint of sweetness, but not sweet tea. Oh. Bjorn Black from Anna, fruity ones. Yeah, I occasionally like the fruity ones, but it almost hits a different part of my brain, right? Like if I want a cup of tea, I'm thinking something with some tannins, like not bitter exactly, but some body to it. And I have to admit, I apparently have a weak spot for mint. I like mint in my tea. And so, not necessarily just like herbal mint tea, but like, black tea with some flavor like mint in it. But a lot of the herbal ones, like sometimes I'll have a fruity tasting tea or something, but it almost doesn't register as tea in my head. It's almost like a fruity hot drink. So do with that what you will. Starting to try more tea. So yeah, Harney teas. I think I'm really happy with them. I used to like this cacao black or cacao mint, cacao something. It was from Tivana, when Tivana had like places in the mall and you'd have to go and pay way too much for it. Their tea was really, really good. Their cacao mint black, I think it was a strange like order of words, but I really like that. And I couldn't find anything that matched for a long time, but the Harney's mint chocolate is really, really good. And again, I don't really taste much chocolate in it, but I just like a hint of mint with my tea. Standard tea. Yeah. And if I'm going to drink straight, black tea, it's either going to be, in here. Yep. Yorkshire. I have a box of, is it Yorkshire Gold? I just said it earlier. Is that what it is now? And I know I say it funny. Yorkshire Gold, whatever the gold one is it Yorkshire Gold? Anyway, I have a box of that and I have a box of PG Tips. I like both of them. PG Tips, oddly enough, makes probably my favorite version of, like, if I make iced tea with PG Tips tea bags, it has like a reddish color to it, and it's so flavorful. So if you're an American and you like iced tea and you normally just use, whatever generic black tea or Lipton or whatever to make your iced tea, get a box of PG tips and try making iced tea with it because it makes the best iced tea. It's just delicious. Oh, and I just scrolled down. Or PG tips. Yeah. So, okay. I promise I wasn't cheating and just using words that you did. I do have both of those kinds of tea. It's leaf, no bag. So I can appreciate that. Cause like I always buy loose tea in my, like the Harney mint tea that I drink every day is always loose tea. The, how do you brew it? I'm really curious here. And I know I'm like behind on comments. Sorry about that. But, how do you brew it? So I don't know if I can, there must be a way that I can, hold on. Let me, yeah, here's a web browser. And I'm going to switch over to the other monitor real quick. All right, over here, still working here. Yeah. Hold on, let me get your leaves off there. So this is what I make my tea in. It's spelled funny. Ingenuity. Okay, look at that, from Adagio. So this is this one or 16 ounce. So it's like this one or some other brand that's like it. But I like this because you just put the loose tea in there, which there's no loose tea in this stock image. I don't know why they poured tea in there. There's supposed to be a bunch of leaves floating inside there. And then the bottom, that's a filter. And so then once it's brewed, you set the whole contraption on top of your mug and it just drains through the filter. And so you get it. It's my favorite way to make tea. And there you go. If you want $5 off. But that's how I make my tea. I like it because it's easy to just rinse out and dump down the drain if you have a garbage disposal. We were visiting my sister-in-law and I brought my thing to make tea and they don't have a garbage disposal. And I had dumped leaves and then I had to clean the leaves out of their sink. It was super gross. So, I kind of take the garbage disposal for granted, I guess, because it was a nightmare to clean that out. Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing me back on track to games too, because I do really like, I do want to talk about games. I just get sidetracked clearly. 7800 is basically the 2600. I think that the 7800, you could actually put 2600 cartridges in it, right? I mean, it had like extra pins, but I think you could put a 2600 game in it and it would play it like natively, but then it would also take 7800 games, I think. Anyway, I think that's how it worked, but I never had a 7800, never played or seen actually a 7800. Let's see, Spectrum in the UK so the Spectrum is in the UK, but I mean, I've seen them referenced. Is Spectrum, that is is that the same thing as ColecoVision? And maybe this is already answered. I'm sorry. I just, it just rings a bell. Like it was at least from the same era, but I didn't know if it was the exact same thing. Sister had the Smurf game in the ColecoVision. Yeah, that's the only one I ever played, and I was not good at it. I didn't play it for long. I actually found a ColecoVision in a garage sale, and I bought it, and it came with the Smurf game in this cool plastic carrying case, but it was missing some of the things to connect it up, like the either a power cord, and it was like a really strange power cord, or I feel like I would have managed to fix that. Maybe it was some sort of RF conversion that wasn't clear. I don't know. It was missing something. Maybe it had a controller with the cord cut off or something. Or maybe it had no controllers. I don't know. But anyway, I never got to play it. I was so bummed. Huntsville, Alabama. Sweet tea. It must be something in the heat. It cooks something in you that you're okay with that much sugar. Cause I just can't do it. Oh, I mean, I've tried, and even just like thinking of it as a dessert, I just cannot do it. I don't know. I actually envy your ability to drink sweet tea. I like strong stuff. I do like strong stuff too. Like I said, I like it to have a bite, a little bit of tannin, not bitter. And so occasionally too, I did get into, what's the one that sits in a cave for a while and gets kind of musty? Like a fungus that like kind of grows on it. Pu'er, is that it? Pu'er tea? And I'm probably so far behind. Everybody's like, it's this, you idiot. Pu'er. I think that's how you say it because it makes me giggle. Um, but yeah, that one's good, but it does have an odd flavor that sometimes is too much for me. Um, Came out to a triple sec. Oh, interesting. I did recently buy I don't know what occurred to me why I wanted orangey stuff, but it's just the grocery store Bigelow brand tea. The constant comment is like an orange spice. It's not bad. I don't want it more than every once in a while though. Um, but yeah, so I do. I guess to answer the earlier question, I have quite a few different kinds and flavors of tea, but um, green tea just icks me out usually. Uh, Yorkshire Gold. Is that, I'm trying to think, is that the same? Is that the popular one though? Uh, is that the one that I'm thinking of? Like usually people I know in Europe either drink PG tips or especially in England will normally drink, either PG tips or I think it's Yorkshire. I'm trying to say it all. Like I'm going to fool anybody like, oh, maybe he is, maybe he's from somewhere in Europe. Cause that was so convincing. But yeah, that one's pretty good. I like one of those two. Lipton, I don't know the Louisiane, but so when we make iced tea, generally we use just store brand tea because it generally doesn't seem to make much of a difference. But PG tips, like I said, it's worth trying. My wife prefers decaf tea, so it's harder to find decaf PG tips. And I think decaf tea tastes like fish food a little bit in general. So I really don't like decaffeinated teas, but we just buy the cheap store brand to make the iced tea. But if I'm making iced tea, like real iced tea with caffeine, I use PG tips. Posted in DevNull. Well, now I'm curious what's over there. I'm going to go look. This is for anybody who is kind of new to the live stream. This is DevNull is a channel on the Discord server. It's not that Bjorn just decided to post it nowhere. Oh, there we go. Cool. Okay. Tea links there. Leaves are much better. Bags are more practical. Such a waste of, yeah. So whenever I see, teas in bags, I think, okay, it's a good thing because they basically have to sweep the floor, right? And all the, what is it? There's a term for it. Are they finings? Is that what it's called? Like the tea dust that they end up putting in the tea bags? Like the tea leaves actually go in like, are sold as loose leaf tea, but then like all the scraps or finings, I think it's finings, end up in the tea bag. So at least it's not wasted, I guess. And I am not one of those people that can be like, I can taste the paper. That is not me. That is not me. Small trash bin for compost. Yeah, we have, I'm ashamed to say that we don't compost and we really, really want to. So I'm hoping that we can come up with a way, maybe this next summer will be a little less crazy, to get something set up so we can compost because we just don't. Just put stuff in the dish or in the garbage disposal or in the garbage. And that just seems sad. Twining. Is Twinings a UK brand? I didn't realize that. I mean, Twinings, or maybe it's Twinnings. I say Twining, so it's probably wrong. But that brand is very common here in grocery stores, along with Tetley. We see Tetley tea as well. The PG tips and PG tips is getting more and more common in like a standard grocery store instead of like specialty store, but it's still kind of rare to see the Yorkshire Gold boxes. Although I have seen them in grocery stores now. I used to have to order that specifically online. How do you know what fish food tastes like? I have kids and it tastes like fish food smells. How's that? We'll say that those are very related. Yeah. Also, I'm always afraid that, so here's the thing about tea bags that bothers me too. This does not happen as bad with PG tips. They use some different kind of paper. It also doesn't happen with, if you get Harney tea. I feel like this is sponsored by Harney Teas, but I really like their tea. They do sell tea in bags and they use like a mesh, probably plastic mesh. I don't even know what kind of mesh it is, but that doesn't have that like explodey puff up when you pour water on it. So I like that about their teas. A tumbler for compost. So yeah, and I have to think, it's like my daughter. My daughter is better than me. She has compost stuff. Like she keeps a a jar, I think, on her counter, maybe. And then like they have a bigger thing outside in the yard where they dump stuff, but sometimes it gets stinky. And I don't know. I have to get better at the process. Like, how do you be a good composter without your house smelling like a barnyard, or attracting wildlife and flies and stuff? So there's got to be a better way, and I just don't know it yet. So, bum, bum, bum. I should, yeah, Harney T affiliate code. Probably have it. I'm kind of lazy though, and let's be honest. Yeah. Then I have to put like the thing up there that says like this is a sponsor. No, I'm gonna do that. Also, I'm just really lazy, but I do like Harney tea. If you like flavored teas, even occasionally, Harney teas makes really good flavored teas. They're cinnamon, so they have this hot cinnamon that it's it's very tasty. It doesn't trigger the tea spot in my brain. It's more like a hot dessert beverage, if you will. But it's quite tasty. Yeah. Anyway, sickness. So yeah, my daughter still has COVID tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday. Yeah, tomorrow's Monday. So so today must be her 5th day because I think she has to stay isolated at home for 5 days, and then for five, as long as she's starting to feel better, which she is, she's starting to feel better. She was miserable 2 days ago, starting to feel a little better yesterday, still feeling better. She has kind of a light nagging cough every now and then. Um, but tomorrow she goes back to work. She has to wear a mask for 5 days, but yeah, so she's doing well. So far, nobody else. I mean, there's only 3 of us that live here now, but neither my wife nor I have tested positive. My wife, like I said, just about 2 weeks ago now, got the Omicron booster vaccine. So it was like perfect timing to like give her as much protection as possible. But also my daughter stayed isolated in her room, but I haven't gotten it either. I tested earlier today before we went out to brunch to make sure that I wasn't, bringing the wrong kind of positivity with me. And yeah, I was still negative. So hopefully it just passes through and just Lizzie gets it and everything is good. Activated carbon. Oh, that's interesting. All right. And I think they make like things for your house. Like my daughter's more practical and not gonna just like buy stuff or whatever. Um, so but there's probably like a clever way to do composting in the house as well. You're right. This needs to be like tea time because we've talked more about tea than games. Because again, my experience with drinking tea is far more than my experience with gaming. So talking about gaming, at least so that it's not a total lie. Like people tuning in, like I thought this was a gaming one. I must have clicked the wrong link. This guy's talking about tea, and it looks like his hair's made of green tea. Anyway. Has anybody ever made a RetroPie box like for doing retro gaming? Because I made a couple. I wrote an article about it in Linux Journal. I wrote several articles, in fact, and I made it inside of a cigar box with a Raspberry Pi. Now, Raspberry Pis are hard to come by now, but it doesn't take too much. Like I have probably several Raspberry Pi 3s laying around. I could actually make another one. But the exciting part for me is always to get the experience as close to the original as possible. And so I have, what is it? I'm thinking Pet Rock Block or something. And if you're in the RetroPie community, you've probably at least, I got close, Pet Rock something or Pet Block Rock. I don't know, but it's it's a little circuit board that you can put onto a Raspberry Pi. And then it just has like screw wire connectors. It connects to the GPIO pins, and then there's some like weird programming logic or whatever. Anyway, and then you wire in original controller things. Like you can buy extension cords for like NES controller extension cords, cut it off so you have the female end of it, mount that inside, wire those up to the Pet Rock Block thing at the appropriate spots, and then plug original controllers into your RetroPie. So you have like the original ones. But over the years, honestly, the USB knockoff controllers have gotten much better. They used to suck so bad. They used to just not work just for beans. But most of them have gotten to the point where they're about as good as the originals. And so I don't know that it's worth, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze to put all that work into wiring in the original controllers, but that's kind of a fun thing as well to get the original controllers working. But I tried too hard. So I kind of stopped all of my work. I just stopped with like Super Nintendo and Nintendo, because what I tried too hard to do is get a RetroPie box that would use any original controllers, to the point where instead of getting the extension cords, what I started to do was get just RJ45 jacks, like Ethernet jacks, like the female part of that, and mount that in there to the Pet Rock Block GPIO hat that goes on the Raspberry Pi, and then program it so that whichever controller you plugged in, you'd have to destroy your controllers. That was the bad part. Chop off the original, put on some Ethernet jacks, RJ45 jacks onto the end of it, and then wire each of them so that the wires lined up in the proper spots, so that no matter which controller you plugged in, if you started the right emulator, it would have the right key bindings for that controller. So that was my plan, and I kind of got lost in the weeds, and I never really did it all. I think I was just trying too hard, because I don't know. Again, making the stuff is usually more enjoyable for me than playing them. So anyway, I lost some comments here. Yeah, RetroPie. And I think it almost makes sense to make, maybe multiple ones, like NES and SNES. They're close enough that, have one just for that. And then like, if you want to have another system for emulating, another similar systems, you could, like, the Genesis and the Atari use the same connector for their controllers, so I guess that would work too. Xbox 360, I want to make it into a Linux box. Do they do that? What? I've never... I know you could install Linux on PlayStations. I think PlayStation 2 was the first one you could install Yellow Dog on, maybe? And this is kind of making my brain ache. And then the PlayStation 3, I don't know about Xbox. I guess you should be able to. They were just like, I don't know about the Xbox 360. The original Xbox was just a Celeron processor, so probably the Xbox 360 would make sense. But you could, I suppose. Half-Life games. Oh, yeah. So, Half-Life games. The original ones, I think there's like a bunch of newer ones now, but like when you say Half-Life, I think the original Half-Life, the original Counter-Strike, the original Team Fortress, Team something Fortress. Anyway, those games were popular when I was the technology director at a K-12 school. K-12 school is a kindergarten, first, second, all the way through 12th grade here. So secondary school, I don't know. Anyway, K through 12 just means not college or university. I was a technology director there, and I had a high school student who may be watching now. I don't know if he's watching, but we still keep in contact. And I got him interested, or helped him stay interested in Linux and open source software and technology in general, by letting him install a Counter-Strike server on a Linux machine in my office. And so he would then go home at night, and him and his friends would connect to the server using the school's IP address. And he would be the admin of the server that was running in my office. And it was just a project that I let him do as one of my tech aides. And so they got to run their own server out of my office. And so, yeah, he learned all about Linux and installing. I think they ran Java. I think it was a Java-based program, which is still kind of a pain to install. But he got that going and running. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I played that. I was never good at any games, but computer games, Counter-Strike, the original Counter-Strike, is the one I probably played the most of all computer games. Oh my gosh, you are not. That's a funny thing to mention. Yes, Team Fortress Classic, I think. Thank you. And you said that right down here. Yes. Team Fortress Classic. I didn't play that one as much. We played Counter-Strike all the time. The intro for Half-Life, though, I know you had to ride in that stupid cart for like 15 minutes and there was no way to skip it. That was the most ridiculous part of Half-Life. Thank you for making me rant about that, because that was ridiculous. Yes. Oh, it was terrible. Uh, yeah, that was the thing. And I mean, he was a high school kid, and this was in the early 2000s. And so I don't know that he would have, I wouldn't even have even known how to advise him to do that, to be honest. Like, how would he even have done that? I don't know. But yeah, it was cool. And so he installed it. I think he installed it on an old Power Mac, probably, because that's what we had laying around. And yeah, got it going. So that was cool. That was cool. Oh, Ice World. Gosh, my brain is like, oh, I remember these maps. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was a good intro. It should have had a way to skip it, because if you had to start over, you're like, oh my gosh. Okay, I know. I just want things to, try to kill me so I can kill them back. Yeah. Ah. The other game that we played, it was another one that had a remake, and the original is now like free to download. Um, oh, what is the game where there were Zergling rushes? StarCraft, is that the game? StarCraft. I think it was StarCraft, the original StarCraft. We played that a lot too. That was fun. But yeah, I'm not much of a gamer apart from that. Like, I'm also the person who, like, this is all Linux now. I guess there is probably Steam power. There is Steam for Linux now, but like my Steam account has like probably hundreds of games that I've purchased and never played. So anyway, yeah, StarCraft was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed StarCraft. So before that, there was a game. It was DOS only, but it was also surprisingly fun. Dune 2000. Anybody ever play Dune 2000? I think you have to use the one of the old DOS box emulators now, because you have to have an emulator of DOS to be that slow to work. But Dune 2000, that's a game that I played, and I played all the way through multiple times, because I just really enjoyed Dune 2000. I think that was it, Dune 2000. The planet Arrakis, and then it would have like all the cutscenes and stuff. Yeah, that was a fun game. Freeware retro emulators for Linux. It depends on the. I mean, so if you look at like the RetroPie site, I mean, pretty much all emulators are free. They're going to be like open source. Very few of them are not open source, or at least free. Are not free anymore. I mean, like Bleem was never free, but yeah, if you go to the RetroPie website and just look at the stuff that they're running, most of the emulators are pretty functional under Linux. A lot of them only work under Linux, because I mean, that's what the Raspberry Pi will run for a RetroPie. So yeah, there's definitely options out there. In fact, I almost did that yesterday for the video, because my capture thing is so horrible for the analog. I mean, the quality was terrible. Not like Atari 2600 is, super high res, but the capture looked horrible. And I considered getting Stella, which is you can go to Stella, just search for Stella emulator. There's a downloadable version for Linux. And I was going to play it in that, but I really wanted to have the clunky joystick interface. It probably would have been easier with arrow keys. Honestly, it probably would have been easier with arrow keys. Should have just done that. But I got the original experience, right? So yeah, there's a lot of emulators. They're fun. And I kind of want to get a bunch of USB game controllers so that I can just play a quick game on my computer, instead of, because like I have a tiny television in my office now that, with HDMI input, that is basically over there if I want background noise, or if I want to use it as a monitor to install something. But yeah, for the most part, I'm just sitting here and I don't play for long. So if I just want to play a quick game, it'd be nice to be able to grab a controller and just play in a window really quick. So, let's see. I'll catch up here. Wolfenstein. It should work. I mean, you can get some, like a lot of pre-packed, like people have put the work in to like get all the settings just right. Like Wolfenstein, like I even think Scum VM has some, like the Scum virtual machine. I think there are some things that play regular PC games. I might have played Dune 2000 with a Scum VM interface. Proton running Windows games under Steam Linux guns. Oh, that's cool. I should install it. I actually, my daughter has a gaming computer in her room now that she plays Valorant on sometimes. And I mean, she uses the computer for school. It is running Windows. And I installed Steam on there, but I don't know that she ever plays any of the games that are in my Steam account anyway. So licensing is, licensing is always the issue when it comes to emulation. And it's frustrating too, because some emulators need like a binary blob. I'm trying to think what emulators need a binary piece. It's probably, I think the PlayStation 1, the PS1 emulator, like Bleem or whatever. I think you have to have a binary, probably a firmware or something image that are from an original thing that is like not, there's no legal way to get that. I don't think. I don't know. But then the games themselves, you don't really have the right to them, but they are almost all available on archive.org now. And so if you go to archive.org, you can get tons and tons of ROM images of old games. I mean, even like, I think NES and SNES are on there. Hold on, let me look, make sure I'm not imagining it. Archive.org, SNES ROMs. Because I think there are a bunch of, ROM sets on the Internet Archive. Yeah, so I don't know the legality of, maybe they're just hosting torrent files. Is that what they're doing? Hosting torrent files? Yeah, because you're not allowed to get them, even though you couldn't buy them new. It's a really weird situation to be in, right? Like, let's say I wanted to buy, one of the Atari 2600 cartridges up there. I could maybe find them on eBay. You can't buy them new. The companies that created most of those games are defunct, don't exist. You couldn't pay them if you wanted, but it's still intellectual property that you don't have the right to have. So yeah, there's some discomfort, legality and morality involved. So anyway, it's true. There's some open source NES and Atari games. There are, but I mean, I want to play the real games. So yeah, I generally just buy stuff if I can, but then I use the ROMs that I've gotten illegitimately. You want to know a funny story? And how are we doing on time? I guess I realize. Okay, we're still doing okay. A funny story about pirated ROMs. So Nintendo released the NES Mini and the SNES Mini like a couple years ago. They're super popular. The NES, they sold out and they like had to make another run because they were so popular. They are, first of all, like I got one just sitting right, hold on. So this is the SNES version of it. And, they're just built like a thing. They don't use the original plug-in thing. They use a special proprietary plug-in. But they are just USB controllers. So they're, made by Nintendo. And it's USB, but it uses a funky connector. Anyway. When Nintendo released those and they put games on them, they put, games, obviously like a set of number of games. Not all the games, but a lot of popular games are pre-installed. The funny thing is the format they used for those games is the format that pirates invented to dump the ROMs. So they're using the .NES format or whatever. I don't know what the SNES format, I don't remember the file extension, but that exact like dump format that the pirates used to get those files, that's the format that Nintendo is using for their games, which I just find hilarious. I mean, it was a great way to, that they invented to rip those ROMs. And so Nintendo just used the same format, which is really funny, which is why this is actually kind of cool. The side effect of that is those original, like the minis, the NES Mini and the SNES Mini, you can sideload pirated ROMs and increase the number of games that those consoles play. You can put hundreds of games on there. There's storage, extra storage on it. and the games are really small. So you can side load hundreds of games because they use the pirated ROM format. So it's just great. Yeah, like my NES box around here somewhere has probably 100 games. Like any game that I ever wanted to play or liked or played when I, in my youth, I'm like, oh, I'll put that on there, And the software that you load it with, I don't remember the name of the software. It's easy to Google up, but the software will even get box art for you. It'll download it and inject the box art right onto the machine. So it's just so cool. I'm a huge fan of them doing that because it allowed people to side load ROMs on both of them. And I don't know if they're going to go. I don't know if they're going to do like a Nintendo 64 version or not. I honestly don't know. I mean, I bought the Nintendo 64. No, that's the Sega Genesis. Nintendo 64 is down there, I think, somewhere. Anyway, and I got the Crix cartridge thing, so I can put all the ROMs on an SD card and do the same sort of thing, but with the original hardware. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I guess that sidetrack was actually on track for the supposed topic of the live stream. But are there games that I did want some recommendations for games that I should try, knowing that I like older games? I'm okay at older games. Are there some games that you just love and I should try? I guess newer games too, but know that my attention span is pretty short. I'm just curious if anybody has any games. Like if I had to recommend games for people from like Super Nintendo, it would be like Chrono Trigger was really fun. I like Metroid from both NES and the new SNES ones. What are some other games that are really awesome for Nintendo? Gosh, I played so many Nintendo games over the years. Contra's a fun shoot 'em up game, and it has the up, up, down, down Konami code that works. Mother 3. Okay. I don't know Earthbound either. Is this a PC game? Is this a PC game? Mother 3? CNC series. Command and Conquer? Is that Command and Conquer? Mario Kart for the Switch. Yes, my kids love playing Mario Kart. My kids are not 5 years old. My kids are all adults now, but still, they love playing Mario Kart. What we'll do is, I have a Nintendo Switch, and so we'll put down. When my wife was gone to camp one week, she was a camp counselor. While she was gone, we have a big bay window in the front of our house, and I just gutted above the bay window inside, and I mounted a projector screen up in the void that was up there, like above this windowsill in the top. I don't know what that's called. And then I like puts like some blackboards around it, so it was like pretty well hidden. And then you press a button and a screen drops down from above. It's so cool. And then a projector on the opposite wall, so we have like movie night. And it's and the screen that I bought is audio transparent, so I have behind it, I have a big sound bar mounted up in the window behind it, and so when the screen is down, it comes right through the screen, and we can hear that. So anyway, I say all that to say, the kids will bring that down and have full giant screen Mario Kart in the living room, and everybody will play. It's a lot of fun. Subnautica. What is that? Subnautica? Is that are these console games? Is this a console game? I've heard of that. I don't know where I've heard of that though. Legend of Zelda. Gosh, I haven't played Legend of Zelda in so long. Have you seen, I just saw somebody mention like there's a first person version of Zelda now or something, like the original Zelda, but like it looked like there was a heads up display. I don't even know what that was. Maybe that was just somebody that did something weird. Anyway, but I should play. I've never beaten Legend of Zelda. And here's the deal. I got stuck. Okay. I did start playing Legend of Zelda, and I couldn't get further than, there was like some area over to the right where I was trying to get, and I could never figure out how to get there. So I have to get like, honestly, I have to get like a walkthrough, because I suck at like figuring stuff like that out, I guess. And like when I get stuck, maybe not quite a walkthrough, but like if you get stuck thing, because I got stuck, I couldn't figure it out. Earthbound is SNES. Okay. Oh, well, no, I can copy and paste this afterwards. Because yeah, I should, my soon to be son-in-law. So he proposed, and I know I've talked about him before, but he just got an analog pocket. Has anybody ever seen the analog pocket devices? They're, bigger than Game Boys, but like that form factor, but super high res, super like decent hardware, really nice screen. And they recently had a firmware update so that you can actually run emulation. They actually would only play the original Game Boy Advance or Game Boy, I don't even know what cartridges, but he has a bunch of cartridges, but now you can actually load ROMs and they'll actually play the ROMs as well. He loves that machine. He plays so many games on that machine. It's such a nicely built heavy duty thing. Anyway, I don't know why I started talking about that other than that's the kind of gaming, but it has NES and SNES along with it too. Hey Shane. Yeah, we talked about tea and kept coming back to games occasionally. But probably a better title for the live stream would be Tea Talk. We talked a lot about tea. And I embarrassed myself by saying Yorkshire again. Yorkshire Gold tea. Oh yeah, it was cool. It is pretty cool. It's even fun for me to watch. I'm so bad at Mario Kart that I never play. But like, I'll just watch them play. And yeah, it's and the Switch is high res and nice. And so on the giant wall, everybody's quarter of a screen is still so big. It makes for really fun racing. And the audio being immersive kind of just makes it that much better because it's all surround in the room because I built the room for watching movies and stuff. A playthrough for Zelda. Really? Oh. I'm going to have to look at that because yeah, I did. I got stuck. In an Atari computer. I never had an Atari computer. I forgot they did make computer systems though, didn't they? A friend of mine has one of the original Pong. Actually, I think it's Super Pong that he has, like from 1978 or whenever they were released. And we haven't played it yet, but he found it like, I don't know, like maybe in his dad's attic or something. But anyway, the original Super Pong with like, it just had a controller with thin wires coming out of it and then just a little dial. And that's how you would move the thing. But Super Pong, that's fun. Scott's all right, doing RetroPie right now. Nice. That's the funny thing. Yeah. Those old systems required almost no like hardware to emulate. It's great. I mean, the original Raspberry Pi 2, maybe, whatever the one with the Ethernet, Raspberry Pi B. I don't know, but I mean, they could run most of the games. Maybe not Super Nintendo. I don't remember, but yeah, they work great. So it's perfect for an old computer. That's what happened here. In fact, this was just an old Celeron something computer that I had. And I got a big giant 17-inch CRT monitor that I mounted up inside there. And I took the keyboard apart and I figured out the XY matrix on the keyboard, which was a lot of work, but some of the nerdiest fun. And then using the XY coordinates to figure out what was what, I wired it up to the buttons and the joysticks and used an actual keyboard guts rewired to the controllers. And then inside the MAME emulation, I had to like program because it wasn't like joystick left, joystick right. It was like joystick left is P, joystick right is semicolon. It was like all crazy like that, but it worked. And there were, you have to be careful with when you do that, because when the X and the Y coordinates like conflict, it can cause where buttons don't work if you try to do two at once. So you would do things like you would make sure the up and the down buttons could conflict because you would never push joystick up and joystick down at the same time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to figure all that out for that MAME machine. And I kind of want to build a MAME machine again. I have one of the arcade 1-up machine. Like a friend of mine, Petros Katupis, has a whole bunch of them. His whole basement's full of those 1-up arcade things where, they've like remade arcade machines. He really, really likes those. And I have one. I don't have room for it though. My office isn't big enough. So I'm thinking about making a tabletop MAME machine where I could like set it on the table and have like real joysticks. I'm actually really considering doing that. I think that would be a fun project. I could record it and then that would be my rationale, right? Like, no, it's for the channel, but it would really be for me, for fun. Oh, Shane. Yeah. So I have both PG Tips and Yorkshire Gold. Um, I know that iced tea is kind of a US thing. I don't think other places, I don't know if it's strictly the US, but we're definitely the like king of the iced tea world. But PG Tips makes incredibly tasty iced tea for what it's worth. Atari ST played games from a floppy. So the Atari ST was the computer. I've never even seen an Atari computer. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's see. Make a loop in the analog circuit when you do that, right? Are we talking for the keyboard? Because yeah, the keyboard, I don't remember. Gosh, it's been years. I mean, I did that back in 2007 and I haven't done it since. And I wouldn't do it again because now they make controllers that don't have that ghosting effect where like, X and Y grid will conflict with each other for some keys and not others. I had to draw it all out on a grid and like line up the things to make sure that I would not have any conflicting letters, but things like up joystick and down joystick could conflict with each other. Left joystick, right joystick could conflict with each other. But yeah, it was fun. Like I said, there's keyboard controllers now that you can just buy that you don't have to worry about ghosting or anything, but it was fun to do that whole thing, to figure out all the coordinates. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. And it was the first thing I ever soldered. And it was like, the control board was like, just tiny little lines, like it slipped into a slot on the keyboard. And so I was like soldering thin wires onto like, a PCI card, not PCIe, but like PCI where it was just like flat, or like the end of a gaming cartridge where it's like all just like flat, like brass thing contacts or whatever. It was like that. And I had to like put a wire on each one and solder it so that it would be like solid. And that was when I discovered that it's not possible for a human being with two hands to solder something. You need a third hand, whether it's a friend or some kind of clipping device or something. It was just, yeah, it's really, really challenging. I'm not good at soldering either, but I did it and I managed to make it work. So anyway, we're over time. Doggone it. I like talking about stuff. Anyway, yeah, if I make a tabletop MAME device, I will definitely make videos on it, and I might have to make another RetroPie box or two to figure out like a way to make. I kind of want to get like my tabletop MAME idea, and I really am wrapping up here, I promise. My tabletop MAME idea, but with a RetroPie maybe, so that I can like carry it around and like, let's play video games right here. Because I mean, those games are almost always played on like a 19-inch TV. So those original games, yeah, I might do that because I have room for that. I could set something on a counter. Anyway, thanks for chatting nerdy games and tea with me all. And I guess that's it. Yeah, I do have one of those, I'm really going to hang up after this. I do have one of those like hemostat things where it's like a weighted feet and then like a couple like bendy grabby things for like soldering. I have one of those that I've used for a couple things. And yeah, if I do more soldering, I'll eventually get better at it, I know. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I love live streaming. It's so much fun to chit chat, nerdy talk. So I'm gonna have to check out some of the games. I'm gonna save the chat so I can go through and get some of the games too, because yeah, games that people have recommended are always better than just random games that I try. So have a great day. Learn everything. Do what you love. Be kind. All those things. Have a great Sunday. If it's snowing where you are, stay safe. If it's not snowing, stay safe too. And this is the part of the thing where I look for how to stop the stream. So have a great evening, everyone, and enjoy your holiday season, busy though it may be. Oh. I am going to stream next week on Christmas. I don't know what the stream's going to be. I have no idea. It might just be me with a mobile camera around the house, but I will have a live stream at 3:00 of some sort next week on Christmas. So you don't have to attend if you're doing stuff for Christmas, but I'm going to do it, doggone it. So anyway, I'll talk to everybody later.